short summary of the history of what happened to the 56 men that signed this Declaration of Independence.
Now, 233 years ago, excuse me, a group of 56 men met for several months to create the document that was just read, to submit our grievances to the King of England and to say that we're not going to do it anymore. It was originally thought of as being, referred to as being the unanimous declaration. If you ever wondered what happened to those 56 men that came and signed the Declaration of Independence, here's a little synopsis of it. A lot of you have gotten this on email, but 5 were captured by the British as traitors and tortured to death. 12 had their homes ransacked and burned by the British. 2 lost their sons during the Revolutionary War. 2 other sons were captured by the British. 9 of the 56 died of wounds due to the Revolutionary War. They were killed in battle. 24 of them were lawyers and jurists. 11 were merchants, just businessmen like a lot of you guys. 9 were farmers and plantation owners. They were all men of means, well-educated, pillars in the community. And they signed the Declaration of Independence, knowing full well that the penalty would be death if they were captured. A lot of them were captured, and they got what they thought they were going to get. Carter Braxton of Virginia was a wealthy planter and a trader. His ships, he had a fleet of ships that were sunk, every one, by the British Navy out on the open sea. He later sold his homes and his properties, and he died in rags. Thomas McKean from Delaware was so hounded by the British that he was forced to move his family constantly, moving them around to avoid the British. He served in Congress without pay. His family was kept in hiding. His possessions were taken from him by the British, and poverty for the rest of his life was his reward. William Ellery of Rhode Island, Lyman Hall of Georgia, George Clymer of Pennsylvania, George Walton of Georgia, Burton Gwenwitt of Georgia, Thomas Hayward Jr. of South Carolina, Edward Rutledge of South Carolina, and Arthur Middleton of South Carolina, all had their properties looted and destroyed by the British soldiers and by vandals that were common to the cause of the British. At the Battle of Yorktown, Thomas Nelson Jr. of Virginia noted that British General Cornwallis had taken over his home as his headquarters. He urged General Washington to open fire on his home and destroy it. Thomas Nelson Jr. died bankrupt. Francis Lewis of New York had his home, fields, grist mill, and properties destroyed. For more than a year, he lived in the forest and caves, and returning home, found his wife had died after a few months in jail, and his 13 children had vanished while fleeing for their lives. Never saw them again. If it became necessary to sign another Declaration of Independence, knowing what you would know, would you step up to sign it?
Yes.
If you took the right to call to duty, would you be willing to pay the price these men did? Poverty, death. It won't just affect you, it'll affect your family. Knowing that if your efforts, not knowing if your efforts would be successful, these men didn't know they were going to be successful when they did this. But they knew one thing, that they were going to be destroyed if they were captured, which many of them were. But knowing that if you didn't step up, the greatest nation on earth may well be destroyed from within. What would you do?
Already doing it.
Take a few minutes while enjoying your 4th of July and thank these people. It's not much to ask for the price they paid for your freedom. Remember, freedom is never free, patriotism is not a sin, and the 4th of July has more to it than beer picnics and baseball games.
Those men pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. Many have lost their lives and their fortunes, but they did not lose their honor. Todd Jones is going to